Hey everyone, and welcome back to the MTG Goldfish Podcast, episode 147, your weekly podcast covering everything Magic the Gathering related. You can find us on Google Play, iTunes, mtggoldfish.com, and now on YouTube. Joining as always, the crew, Richard, the owner of MTG Goldfish. What's up, Richard?
Hey guys, what's going on?
What is up? Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, our resident Jank Brewer and all-around content creator. Seth, how's it going?
Doing good, guys. How are you this week?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Interesting weekend. A lot of things going on. Chaz, as always, content creator for Magic the Gathering, focusing on the financial aspect. Basically on the docket, we have a lot to talk about in terms of Pro Tour Ixalan. We're just going to give our overall thoughts, talk a little bit about everything that we usually talk about for Pro Tours, the content, the coverage, just the overall feel of the Pro Tour, what our thoughts were on the format moving forward. That will lead us into some announcements. We finally have the list of From the Vault Transform. We will discuss that, as well as Explorers of Ixalan. The Decklists were revealed. I know we were privy to a few cards, but now we have all the Decklists, so we're going to talk about that as well. And then we'll wrap things up with some fish mail. We have quite a bit of those as well. So let's just dive right in. Gentlemen, what did you think of Pro Tour Ixalan? Just kind of give your thoughts on just an overall takeaway for now. Richard.
I thought it was good. It was a little scary on day one when they released the metagame numbers and everyone's worst fears of it being just all teamer with a splash of Ramunap Red. But throughout the weekend, they managed to have a lot of variety of decks during the feature match, and then the top 8 was half energy, half non-energy decks. So we saw a large variety of decks, regardless of what the meta percentage was. And I think coming out of it, we saw that energy was beatable, even though Sultai Energy won. You saw all the other energy decks kind of fall over, and there were ways to attack them. So I think overall it was a pretty good Pro Tour. It wasn't the best. I think having the Pro Tour right after set release is still better, but it wasn't as bad as a lot of people, including us, thought it would be, with just a stale meta and teamer energy running rampant. So pretty good Pro Tour. I was actually quite pleased with what happened this weekend.
So Seth, what'd you think?
Oh no, Seth disagrees already.
So I don't disagree. I feel like Wizards did a really good job. I'll put it that way. I feel like I have really mixed feelings. I feel like the meta was proven to be pretty broken and pretty bad, but I felt like Wizards, by a combination of skill and luck, actually made it into a really good Pro Tour. Like, even though Teamer Energy and Ramunap Red was like 70% of the field or something, it didn't feel like that in the feature match area, so we were seeing interesting decks all the time. And then even though like more than half of the decks to put up good finishes were Teamer Energy decks, the top 8 was really diverse. The energy decks went out early, and Wizards obviously can't control that. That's where they got a little bit lucky. So I feel like what I was afraid would happen did happen, but it was actually a really entertaining Pro Tour because it didn't feel like it happened on camera.
That's kind of how I felt as well. Although there were a lot of energy in many different varieties of energy. I guess, we talked about this last week that doesn't really count as like different deck lists for you all, but I did feel there was enough nuance in the changes, especially the 4-color energy list. I actually really enjoyed because it did feel at least a little bit different, and it was nice to see the splash for Vraska and just at least a couple different cards than the normal traditional teamer energy. But I do feel a little bit like how you feel, Seth, that when it came to the top 8, they almost kind of got a little bit lucky, considering so much of the field was red and energy, that even though a good portion of the top 8 was energy, it just wasn't like a doom and gloom scenario where it's like, oh, well, energy just kind of took over another Pro Tour. Let's talk about what needs to like happen going forward. I don't think that really needs to happen. I thought it was an overall great, amazing top 8. And for most of the weekend, we were watching really good Magic, despite such a large percentage of those archetypes. They really tried to showcase like the mono white vampires list, these like the Teamer Riddle form. So they really tried to keep things fresh throughout the coverage, where you were getting a lot of variety in just the content between rounds and the feature area.
Yeah, just to recap for people who didn't look at the numbers, day 2 meta, which kind of looked like the same as a day 1 meta, Teamer Energy 23%, 4-color Energy 19%. I'm going to call those decks the same 4-color energies. Basically, Teamer Energy splashing some black for Scarab God and Vraska. You have Raminap Red at 22%, Sultai Energy at 6%, and Sultai Energy, while it is called Energy, it plays quite differently. It feels more like the black-green Constrictor decks we've seen in the past. And then you have kind of the energy killers or people trying to dodge the meta. Black-red aggro, God Pharaoh's Gift, Mardu Vehicles. Those are all, 5% and under. And then, some of the decks we saw in the top 8, the approach decks. And then Mono White Vampires was something that a lot of people kind of keyed in on. All 5 players made it to day 2. And it was just a weird take on White Weenie. But apparently Angel of Invention's a pretty good card. So, I don't know. We saw enough interesting decks that it was enough for me. This wasn't the doom and gloom scenario. I don't know what this means for the Pro Tour or for the standard metagame going forward. Is everyone just going to play Teamer Energy anyway? Or will everyone start playing these weird decks, Esper, God, Pharaoh's Gift, etc., etc.? So it'll be interesting. What do you guys think? Do you think these new decks will make a splash, or do you think everyone will just go back? They'll add some braids to their Teamer Energy deck and move on.
I think the meta is actually, that we saw at the Pro Tour, is actually a pretty fair representation of what I expect moving forward. I think that we'll see Teamer Energy being a massive amount of the field. We'll see Ramen Bread still being like the second best deck. I definitely think we'll see an uptick in play of some of these fringe decks or rogue decks or whatever you want to call them. The second tier decks, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. So I think people will try God Pharaoh's Gift. They'll try Approach, splashing red for Harness Lightning. They'll try Vampires. But I still don't really have much confidence that any of those decks is better than Teamer Energy or 4-color Energy. I think that, that was what I came away with, is Teamer Energy is still the best deck. It's just so flexible, as so many good sideboard plans for every single matchup. So I don't feel like any of those decks actually beats Teamer Energy. So I expect it'll be a lot like we saw at the Pro Tour, with people testing out these new decks, but Teamer Energy being flexible enough to adapt and stay the best deck in the format.
This deck almost reminds me of Jund, right? It just has a lot of great matchups, and overall it doesn't have any bad matchups. So it's a very flexible deck, like Jund. Obviously, it's not the exact same, but it plays. It's very similar in that regard. But I do think they should, going forward, folks will start to respect the God Pharaoh's Gift list and some of those other lists that actually put up really great results and place into the top 8. I do think a Braid needs to come back into the main deck. Like, you do need to respect those decks a little bit more, because when you don't have anything main deck, like, those decks can get way out of hand. I mean, Pascal is a great player, but I mean, we saw the power of the deck when you really don't interact with it enough. So if you're not packing enough interaction for these decks, they're a lot stronger than they normally would be. So I think Energy List can kind of pivot and change a little bit going forward. But, looking at the results, I know it's a lot to kind of digest, but just under the surface, there was some interesting lists that just missed, or got really far into the tournament with 8 wins or 7 wins. I mean, there's still a little bit of room for innovation, but I mean, Teamer's just the best, and I don't think there's a huge problem with that. It's just I don't know if I'm comfortable with how big the margin is.
So that's my question for both of you. So obviously, Teamer didn't win the tournament, and if you dig into the numbers, it was fairly average. It didn't perform badly. It didn't perform insanely well. Is a fair deck, and I consider Teamer Energy a fair deck, is it okay to have a fair deck like Teamer Energy be 40%, 40+% of the meta? We've seen unfair decks like Marvel. That's about
Yeah.
where it was getting banned, when it was like 40+% of the meta. But that's a different deck that's like killing you on turn 4. It probably feels worse to lose to Marvel. So are we okay with, let's say, half of the standard format being one deck, if that deck is fundamentally a fair deck and you're not losing on turn 4?
I'm starting to come around to it. I know 2 weeks ago now, you and I talked about this set, that if it got to a point where it was completely out of control, and if we went into the Pro Tour and that's kind of how we felt about it, that we should start having those conversations again. But I just don't. I don't think so. It is a fair deck, and I don't think the margin. Like, I'm not super comfortable with it because I kind of lump all the energy stuff together, because it's by and large you're playing a lot of the similar cards. I mean, Long Tusk Cub, all this stuff. But I saw enough, at least from the Pro Tour, that it doesn't make me cry. Like, it doesn't make me call out for like something that needs to be done, especially with another set along the way, coming right around the corner. I just, you can't really penalize people for playing good cards.
Yeah, I think mid-range is the least of the feel-bads, right? When mono red smashes you really quickly, you feel bad. When a control deck prevents you from doing anything, you feel bad. When a combo deck kills you on turn 4, you feel bad. When a mid-range deck grinds you out over 10 turns, you're like, eh. So it's the least feel-bad, but I don't think you can let it pass, right? Like, we've had these mid-range decks in the past, Coco decks, Abzan Rhino decks. People still complain about them, right? If it's too prevalent and you can't combat it, and the only thing you can do is play another mid-range deck, I think people will complain. And I think the beauty of Magic is that you should be able to play all styles. So when one of them is too crazy, I think you need to do something about it. So just because it's mid-range, I don't think you get a pass, even though it feels slightly better than the other types of decks. So, but I do think that having 50% energy mid-range decks is not good. And I don't think it should get a pass over Marvel or something.
I think, for me, maybe the best comparison, and I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think Caw-Blade is the easiest comparison. When you go back to when Caw-Blade was the best deck, and when Jace and Stoneforge finally got banned, part of their announcement, I actually got it right in front of me, but basically what they said was, we had a one-deck meta. It was a fair deck. You're playing very fair skill-testing Magic. Like, Caw-Blade was not killing you on turn 4. It was interactive. You're attacking. You're playing removal spells. You're playing a regular game of Magic. But they basically said we wanted to try to see what would happen with a skill-testing one-deck meta. But ultimately, players didn't find that enjoyable, and we had to ban it. So I feel like that could be where we end up with Temur Energy. If you're getting to like 50+% being one deck, I think even if that's a fair deck, people are going to get tired of that eventually. So I don't think we're there yet, but if it's still like that come Rivals of Ixalan and we're still having the same metagame percentages, then I think we might get the Caw-Blade-esque type banning where it's just like, sure, it's fair, but if that's what you're playing every other round of your FNM, are you going to keep going to FNM for the next 11 months to rotation? It's not like we have a rotation in 3 months.
Yeah, and again, this is kind of where I brought up the point where, as I'm watching pro players play these deck lists, there is enough nuance between the different flavors of energy. But, for folks that are either getting to, trying to get to that point or just go to local FNMs, I mean, Sultai Energy, Four Color Energy, and Temur Energy, like, after a while, it's just all going to blend together. So I don't really, like, if they're all kind of the core of all these decks, I mean, after a while, you might be right, Seth, that folks just kind of get tired of it. But again, there is another set around the corner, so I don't know what is in store. But to me, this wasn't like Worlds where it was like I was kind of hesitant, and then we had those discussions, and I was like, we'll just have to see. I saw enough from the Pro Tour that there is the nuance, and there are other decks that can thrive in the format, and it's not just energy. But for others, the disparity might not be it's too high. So I don't know.
So realistically, do you think WotC is going to ban something? And if they were, what card would it be?
I don't think they should.
But do you think they will, regardless of whether they should or should not?
I'm going to say not before Rivals. I think if we have Rivals of Ixalan and things are still looking the same after in the Rivals meta, then I think Wizards might feel like they have to, because there's still going to be a lot of months until rotation. Dominaria is pretty hyped. I think that would be... I think you can almost write off Ixalan block to some extent, but if Dominaria is being overshadowed by energy as well, that might be the time where Wizards feels like they need to act. So I think we're going to have to live with it for now, but we might get to the point after Rivals, if nothing changes, where then we're talking about banning probably Attune with Ether, I think would be the most likely ban.
I agree with that timeline. I don't think... We kind of have to wait for the second block of Ixalan at this point. I don't think they'll do anything before that. If Pro Tour... Well, see, even we don't have a standard Pro Tour now, right?
It's a modern Pro Tour coming up.
So, I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, then I guess we just have to wait all the way until Pro Tour Dominaria.
I think the GP results could be a catalyst for it.
Yeah, that's true too. They've used GP results for, to push them to ban stuff before.
And I mean, the big thing is going to be player reaction. Are people, what normally makes them ban something is F&M attendance starts to drop. People stop showing up at tournaments. So if players are okay with energy and they just keep going to events and they're like, whatever, I'm not dying on turn 4. I don't care if I play energy every other round.
Right.
Then Wizards probably doesn't really feel like they need to take action. But once they have those numbers for attendance and stuff that we don't necessarily get to see. So if we get to the point where those numbers start to drop, I think that would be something that would push Wizards towards taking action.
Yeah. And especially because, I didn't really... Well, yes, it is a lot of the field, but I actually liked watching Sultai energy and 4-color energy sometimes. Sultai is different enough where it's kind of not just the same thing, and 4-color, I guess, is similar to Teamer, but it is kind of splashing for a couple of different things. But it was different enough. There was just another mirror match. Let me just kind of tune out for a bit. I actually actively watched those, and then with other decks thrown into the mix, I really, really enjoyed watching the God Pharaoh's gift decks without, when people don't respect them enough, and you can see a lot of those deck lists in the feature match, and you see high level play of those gift decks. I really enjoyed that. So with a condensed standard, and you're still having some amount of diversity in deck lists and these archetypes, especially at the highest level, I don't really think that's we should be raising the alarm here.
Do you think you'll still feel the same way 6 months from now? If every
Probably
GP
not.
and tournament is the same as the
Probably
Pro Tour?
not, no.
I can see it being novel for a short period of time, but I think it's just the distance to rotation that scares me. Normally we get to these periods with Collected Company, where it's 40% of the meta, but normally we get there a month or two before rotation, people figure it out, and you're all right, sure, we know what the standard is about, couple months we'll have a rotation, but we just had rotation, so that's what I'm mostly worried about is, will this keep people's interest for the next 11 months until energy rotates, instead of just a couple months you got to get through over the summer with Collected Company?
Yeah, I probably won't feel the same way. But normally, between now that we're talking about it, you normally look under the number. You're from the numbers. You normally look at the list that just got a bad rap, whether it be from draft or just almost got there. You don't feel that they're I don't know if people really noticed, but there was an 8-win list by Elliot. I'm probably gonna butcher this name, but Busad, a white-blue cycling list, and these mono-white vampires list 8 wins. It was almost right there. So, maybe there's just more, maybe something other than, Teamer just adopting a braid is going to happen from this Pro Tour where, they put up good enough results that it could be viable going forward in this format.
So we kind of alluded to it. but this was basically Pro Tour Kaladesh, right? We did not see any Ixalan cards whatsoever. The most played Ixalan cards, Rootbound Crag, Duress. Even then, they were in 50 decks and 30 decks respectively out of 100 plus. And of the actual flashy cards, Vraska Relic Seeker made it into some teamer decks. Search for Skanta and Hostage Taker. That was basically it. Kind of support cards. The most played cards were the lands and, Spell Pierces and Duresses and things like that. So in terms of showing off Ixalan, this did a pretty bad job. And unluckily for WotC, the next Pro Tour is a Modern Pro Tour. So again, you're not going to see too much of the new block, I guess. So what does this mean for Ixalan, the block? And do you think this will spur WotC to actually make bigger changes, knowing that they don't have any more opportunity to sell these cards, right? Like, if they want to sell the cards, they need them upfront now, and, not a year from now, after all the Pro Tours have happened already.
That's a really interesting point, actually, as far as the sales. Like, they want to see their new sets do good, because that's the reason for people to buy those sets, and if people get the perception that energy is just like the only deck to buy and there's not really any reason to buy Rivals of Ixalan, I think that could be an argument for Wizards making changes.
I think it's compounded by the fact, what did you feel now that it's over that Worlds was first and Pro Tour was delayed like this? Normally people tune in not only just to showcase the set, that's like kind of what it's there to do anyway, but it would also help if things are still fresh, and how much more exciting that Mono White Vampires would have been like 4 weeks ago?
Yep.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like it would have been a lot more, like that would have been a lot bigger of a storyline if, things weren't always, a lot of everything that we saw was known quantity. That was kind of like the little storyline, but I think it would have been a lot bigger if we had it 2 weeks after Ixalan.
Yep.
Do you think they will flip that going forward? Yeah.
Looking back, it was a mistake. I don't think the same hype was achieved. I don't think, you're right. We would have went nuts over that vampire list had it been right after release. But now we're just like, right? So,
yep.
And, the same type of hype didn't show up at Worlds because everyone was super spiky. They all just played their teamer decks and, whatever. So I think reversing it back would be the correct call. You're just not getting the same hype. It felt like a big GP or something, as opposed to a big set reveal and, I'm excited to see what all the new cards are. Because, like, even Limited is not as fun anymore. Because you know what all the cards are now, and you know what the standouts are. It's not fun to watch Limited, whereas with the new set, you might not even know what the cards are. So you're actually seeing the cards for the first time if the Pro Tour is right after release. So even Limited becomes much better, in my opinion. So I much prefer a Pro Tour right after set release.
Yeah, and that's probably a little of why everyone's kind of having this reaction. It was kind of a lukewarm all around. No disrespect to the people that went there, and obviously it doesn't take anything away from Seth and his win there, but I just kind of feel like it would have just been a lot better if it was if it was switched.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also wanted to point out the reason for the switch was Wizards was hoping the metagame wouldn't get solved so quickly. And that obviously didn't happen because we just had, just as far as metagame percentages, one of the least diverse Pro Tours.
Yeah.
Top 8 was great, feature matches were great. They did a great job with that. But just if you look at the numbers, it was really not diverse at all. And I feel like it almost had the opposite effect as what they wanted. They thought if we push this back, the metagame won't get solved as quickly. But instead, you just had this really 2-deck metagame Pro Tour, when if the Pro Tour was earlier, I think it's possible that the idea that Teamer was so far the best deck maybe wouldn't have solidified yet, and you might have had some a larger group of people feeling like they could beat it and showing up with other decks and having more rogue decks. But now being a month and a half after set release or whatever, we've seen so many tournaments, we've played so much on Moto, everyone kind of knew Teamer was the best deck, and a lot of teams just defaulted to that. So I almost feel like pushing back the Pro Tour, not only did it make it less exciting, but I feel like maybe it made it less diverse as well, which is the opposite of what the idea was.
Yeah. And it's just a kind of like that. That's why I'm just not near really neutral, but I'm not leaning, after talking with you both and we having those discussions, Seth, even a couple weeks ago, that's kind of why I'm in this state now where it's like, it's kind of hard to tell now because it was pushed back, and there was still a little bit there, but maybe if this was a little earlier, we wouldn't have had such a negative or maybe neutral take, lukewarm take. So there's a lot of factors now, but I think overall we just have to wait for the next Ixalan set. I mean, as crazy as it sucks, but I think Richard is right. At the very end, it just didn't showcase a lot of Ixalan. I mean, short of mono white vampires, which I would think is overall like an Ixalan set deck. I think it was just downplayed because it was like 5 weeks after the release.
Yeah, no dinosaurs, which was the whole selling point of the set. No dinosaurs, no pirates. Vampires for some reason made it in, so they didn't really sell the cards they wanted to sell. But enough about the metagame. What do you guys think about the stories, the top 8, Chapin's use of Fumigate?
I think overall it was a really entertaining Pro Tour. Like, I was hoping for the LSV comeback storyline, but that didn't actually really take off. But I feel like the storylines were pretty compelling. We got to see a lot of different decks. We got to see God Pharaoh's Gift. We had another pretty epic top 8 punt. Like, I thought that after Hazaret last go around, we might make it through punt free, but there was a pretty big punt by Sigris to basically lose a match, I think. So I felt like it was very entertaining and was really happy with it overall.
Yeah,
I thought the top 8 was fantastic, me personally.
I actually felt there were far more punts in this top 8 than I can ever remember. And I don't mean, strategical punts. I mean just like straight up missed triggers, didn't attack with this guy when it had lethal, and like just really strange things that are not characteristic of, the top pros of the top 8. So it was weird, but it was pretty fun rooting for the underdogs and seeing the matches. Everyone... It was funny because Mardu Vehicles was kind of the last boogeyman, and then now everyone's like, yeah, come on, Mardu Vehicles, take out energy, and it was just weird. So overall, it's pretty entertaining. Production keeps getting slightly better. It's improving. It's not skyrocketing out of there, but every Pro Tour is getting better and better. So the ads were different this time, so I like that. They didn't just keep showing the same team slides over and over. They actually had different things going on. The arena, I was talking to Seth about the Magic Arena bit, and it's funny how everyone had the same comment of it reflecting the authentic, real Magic experience, like the literal quote. But people got to try it out there, so it was pretty cool. So overall, I thought it was pretty good. I didn't like the enter the battlefield segments this time. They were a bit worse than the usual ones. I don't know why. But the other ones, the previous ones, have been like super top notch. This one is just good, not great.
Yeah. Admittedly, I didn't key in as much to those different aspects. To me, I thought the flow was great. While the enter the battlefield, I think you are right. I think I liked the other bits a lot more. I think they did a better job trying to showcase a lot of the deck techs, and those seemed really good this time around. But other than that, that was really the only thing I noticed. Maybe I just didn't notice a lot of the punting, but to me, I thought it was overall really good. And sometimes playing conservatively can actually lead to that. So maybe that's why. I don't know.
I think coverage did miss LSV. I think coverage was good, but I feel like Magic still needs... I feel like there's a ton of people that are good at doing commentary, and I really thought the commentary was good overall, but it was missing some of the really high-level understanding of the game interaction. I know especially for me, there was It was actually the top 8 match that ended with Sigrist not attacking because he thought one of his creatures was summoning sick, and it was like this really weird ending, but the commentary there was just very not understanding of what was going on in the board state. Like, it was kind of convincing everyone that this Mardu or Heart of Kirin really mattered when really it didn't, and it kind of like made this really awkward situation. So I feel like while the coverage was really good overall, I missed that like really deep knowledge that LSV brought to it, like of just being able to analyze game states so on point and so sharply. So that was one thing I missed. The other thing I wanted to ask you that I noticed throughout the weekend, did you feel like, maybe this is just Magic coverage in general, do we have too many inside jokes? There was a lot of like references to old pros and these like jokes between LSV and Xi'an, where if you're really enfranchised and you know that LSV and Xi'an are like best friends forever, and you know the old pros from 20 years ago, maybe they were kind of funny, but from a perspective of like someone who just hops into the Twitch stream to check out this Magic game, it would really go over your head and be very weird. So do we do too much of that? Are we too insular and inside jokey in the Magic community?
I can't really, I feel like I can't really comment on that because I don't watch a lot of other esports coverage. So I don't actually really know. And I'm only using esports as like this, I guess this genre, not, I mean, Magic is kind of making its way, but I just don't know if that's a thing that is done throughout. So I'm not really sure. To me, I didn't get them. So at one point I think I tabbed away for a second and I just heard like laughing, and then I was like, what just happened? And I tabbed back and like they were just still playing, so I was like, what happened? So I don't really know. I can't really comment.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes it gets out of hand. It's not like you just don't understand the joke, and it probably just goes past people's head when they don't understand it and whatever. But I think it does bring a little like unprofessionalism to it, and part of it is they do need to showcase their personality and their chemistry. But at the same time, if it's too like specific, like you don't understand it, it's tough. So I think the closest analysis is like StarCraft. For people that watch StarCraft, like Tasteless and Artosis, they're like super best buds. They always joke around, but the things they joke around with, you can understand as like a layman. It's not like super, I need to be enfranchised in the scene. Whereas something like, Paul Cheon and LSV sharing, was it 8 top 8s or whatever? Like, if you didn't know the context behind that, you wouldn't even understand it's a joke, right? You would just think, oh, you're two players that shared, that have a combined top 8. Whereas the reality is it's not equal, right? So stuff like that, I think, need to tone it down a little bit. But at the same time, part of the fun is the trio of Marshall, Cheon, LSV. They're really good friends, so they have good chemistry. So I don't want to break that up, but maybe just tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I also appreciate it, but I'm also very enfranchised, and I get that stuff to a pretty good extent. It kind of brings me back around to maybe we just do a new player stream. Like, maybe, what would it be like to have 2 streams and have one that was just very basic and almost like educational for teaching people, and another one for more enfranchised players? Would that work?
I just don't think
games have tried this and it never.
Yeah,
I
don't think it works out.
Yeah.
Maybe a restream, like once it's over, they can go back through and kind of redo it again, like edit over it. I don't know.
I just don't. They just need to get on the same page. Like I remember one of the times it's like, how does the God Pharaoh's gift deck win? That was like I think Rich's question to Simon, and I'm pretty sure he was fishing for you discard this God Pharaoh's gift, you refurbish it, animate an angel. Whereas Simon went into a much more spiky mode, like you need to control the board, you need to do this, and he was answering for a spike, whereas Rich was trying to get the answer for a new player. So they just gotta kind of get on the same wavelength and figure out, here we're gonna talk to new players. What is Sultai? Sultai is actually this 3-color combination, right? Because they were trying to stress that a lot, but sometimes it just went way past that, and they were describing kind of how the deck plays differently from Teamer, as opposed to Sultai actually means, black, green, and blue. So
Right.
it's just like a chemistry thing, I think. And as they work together more, they'll figure out how to answer each other's questions.
Yeah. Final thoughts.
Good experiment. Never again with this timing, please. Give us back our normal Pro Tour timings.
Yeah. Definitely agree with that. Go back to doing the Pro Tour first. Overall, little scared about the meta moving forward, uncertain, but I felt like they did a great job considering the meta of making it a really entertaining Pro Tour. So very happy overall with the Pro Tour, despite my reservations and concern about what things will look like 3 months from now.
Also, really I overall enjoyed it. I am a little concerned about the meta as well, and not directly a Pro Tour final take, but can we please not have stress tests right after a Pro Tour? Yeah, that would be great, Wizards, if you're listening at all. Don't, please. I mean, very grateful. I loved it. It was awesome, but it was a long day.
I thought it was weird that they did the first beta event, right, for Magic Arena on the same day as the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
That seems like odd timing.
Yeah, it was tough. It was late for some of us, really late. So if we could kind of move that around for next time, that would be awesome.
All right, from the Vault Transform.
Yeah, from the Vault Transform. Take it away, Richard.
All the cards today. It releases November 24th. 15 cards, $35, all foil, all double-faced. So we have 3 cards with new art. That would be Huntmaster of the Fells, Delver of Secrets, and Garrick Relentless. So you can check those out. They have new art, both front and back. And then for the rest of the cards, we have the 5 Magic Origins Planeswalkers that flip. So like Jaceman's Prodigy, Liliana Heretical Healer, Kytheon, Nissa Vastwood Seer, and Chandra Fire of Kaladesh. We have Bloodline Keeper. We have Arlen Cord. That's our Planeswalker in this set. Archangel Avacyn. We have Bruna and Gisela, the ones that flip into Brizella, Voice of Nightmares. And we have the cards that no one really wants. Elbrus, the Binding Blade. Legendary Equipment. And Arguel's Bloodfast from the latest set. Strange choice. It's not Search for Azcanta, but also strange that it's just a brand new card in this set. So those are your 15 new cards. $35. What do you guys think?
This turned out to be really good from the vault. I was nervous that when I saw Liliana on the cover that we were not going to get the Origins, all of the Origins walkers, but looks like they're all in there. So I think a lot of people were skeptical at the start, but I think folks are walking back their initial reaction and critique on this from the vault, because it actually turned out to be really good, I think.
Yeah, and just update on the price. It's about like $60 on eBay, because you can never get these from the vaults like at MSRP. So it's about like 60.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to find them for MSRP, or stores willing to sell them at MSRP, but that's still a pretty good price.
Yeah, I mean, I think it turned out pretty good. They didn't really miss much as far as transform cards. They got pretty much all the big ones. The only one I would, discounting the new cards that are in Standard, the only one I would say is maybe Westville Abbey would have been better than Erebus the Blinding Blade. Like, that was the one transform card I felt like, I really wish it was there. They obviously kind of missed on the Standard card. The Search for Azcanta or even Treasure Map probably is better than Bloodfast, but I mean, they're trying to guess what's going to be good without knowing what the format looks like, so whatever. The only thing I would say is I wish there was more new art, and I'm sure it's like a budget thing, and you probably only have like so many new pieces you can get, but I think it would have been really sweet to see like the Flipwalkers with new art, or Gisela with new art, some more new art. The new art was really good, but it was only on 3 cards, so I wish a higher percentage of the cards had the super sweet new art, because like I said, the new art that was in the set is very, very strong.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm okay with just the 3 pieces just because they are that good for new art, so I guess it's kind of a give and take on that. But what was the last one? Lore? I feel like there wasn't that many new pieces of art in that either.
Yeah, and I think it's probably complicated by the fact that they're flip cards. So each new art is actually 2 new arts that you're paying for. Because I'm sure you got to like buy the front and the back half. So probably as far as budgets, maybe that's why it feels like there's less new art, because each new art card is 2 arts.
Yeah, they definitely chose the right cards, though. I mean, the Garrick, the Delver, and the Huntmaster all look phenomenal. So I think overall this really turned out to be a really strong From the Vault, all things considered. I think it's probably better than the last one. Lore was okay, but this one seems a lot better.
They have a lot of mythics and a lot of planeswalkers, so I think it'll definitely be a hit. I mean, I think the value right now, if you look at original printings, is around $100. So if you're getting them at like $60, if you want the cards, I don't think you'll make money if getting them at $60, maybe in the long term, but it's a pretty good deal if you want the cards for your commander decks or whatever.
Absolutely. They're all foil, right? Yeah.
They are all foil. Yeah. We'll see how curly they are.
But this is turning $100 into $100, right, Seth?
Oh, Chaz.
So
leave me alone.
About the foil, either they'll remain straight or they'll just explode. Because the problem with the foil is one side is foiled or whatever, and it curls the thing. So because it's both sides, it should just stay straight, or it'll just implode on itself. The real question I have, though, is there a checklist card? How do you play with these cards if you don't have sleeves? I mean, not that you would, but, you know, they always have to have checklist cards. And do I get a foil checklist card from the vault?
What?
Or do I get nothing? And
do you play with checklist cards for EDH? Because, I mean, I don't even think... You can't even play this set, like, normally.
What? You can play Modern and Legacy and whatever, right?
So do you literally walk around with a checklist card for all your
I usually do for my flip cards, so I don't have to worry if my sleeves are opaque or not and whatnot.
True.
I just use the checklist to make it easy.
I haven't had a problem, and I always use Dragon Shield. That's just my personal preference. I usually either use the matte ones or sometimes even the not matte ones. And I usually use a pretty dark color, so I've never had an issue, but for me, I have a million of checklist cards, so I don't
it back before you shuffle it in your deck. It's just so
much
work.
I like doing that.
If they made me an awesome checklist card, you know, one with like awesome art. Can you imagine just like a kind of collage card where they have all 15 cards on like one piece of art? I don't know how they would do this, but
sure,
one of those movie posters or whatever, like on the card.
Yeah, leave it to Richard though. I have to admit I was not even thinking about the checklist card, so leave it to Richard.
There's no foil checklist card. I'm just saying, it's a collector's item. Foil checklist card.
Dot every I and cross every T on that one. No
tokens card either. Or emblems.
I would have liked the wolf token. I would have liked. I would have liked the wolf token. We also have Explorers of Ixalan. So we know some of the cards already. I think as of a few minutes ago, it was still down, or is it up now?
Okay, so I actually have some information here. So, 4 different decks. Altogether, I added up the prices. MSRP is like $65. Total value is like $130. The big hitters that you're getting between all 4 decks, Beacon of Immortality is like $8. You also have Shared Animosities, like $15. You have Adaptive Automaton, which is like $7. You have Time Warp, which is $15, and Aggravated Assault, which is like $15. So there's a decent amount of value stuffed into the product. So I don't know. It's definitely interesting. There's also some lower stuff, right? Just our alphas, Path to Exiles, like in the $5-ish range, Threads of Disloyalty. So the value seems pretty good. Is this a product that either of you are interested in? Kind of the board game / Magic thing?
If I knew anything about this, other than you have 4 actual Magic decks, so the decks are actual Magic decks that, you know, have real tournament legal Magic cards. They're 60-card decks, 26 lands, but then somehow you play this with 4 other people and you have these tiles with numbers on them. That's all I know. I don't know what you do with this, so they should have explained it better, because I don't know who's going to buy this. Do you guys have any more information of how this actually plays out or what you actually do with this?
No,
I'm
it's
fairly
like a board game.
yeah.
I know that.
I'm fairly certain they had a video on how this works, or maybe like an introductory to it. I don't know if there was gameplay on it, so if I'm wrong, I apologize. I don't know exactly how it works, to be honest with you. But it seems fun for 4 players. This definitely feels like a good product for players that just want to, play a different style of, Magic, incorporating different elements into, just playing Magic, or, new players. I think it's fine.
I mean, it's on Mass Drop for like $50, so
Yeah,
it feels like with the value of the cards in there, if you want to check it out and see if it's fun, and you can get it for around $50, kind of a free roll just based on the chase cards we were talking about.
Yeah, they've been, I have to say they've been doing really well, producing these supplemental products lately. Been doing a great job. I can't remember the last really bad one. I think the last mediocre, I guess it wasn't really terrible, but it wasn't great, was, what was that, Speed versus Cunning or something like that? With, Lavisa Cold Eyes and, that other one?
Yeah, some of the dual decks are still kind of hit or miss.
Yeah, but they've definitely been stringing together a good list of supplemental products.
Yeah.
So
They still don't have their announcement game down, though. Why do they need to release 2 products on the same day, the Monday after Pro Tour? Could they not space it out by a day, if not week? They love dumping everything.
Overloading.
It's like they hire a contractor for a day, and then he comes in okay, please announce everything for us, and then he does it and he goes home. Because I don't know why they gotta announce everything on the same day, all the time. They love doing this. Makes no sense to me.
And then I just see Richard frantically here's this. These are these cards. Here are these cards from this set.
Woke
View the
up,
spoilers
from the vault. Yeah. Then Seth's hey,
Oh,
Explorers of Ixalan is out. I'm like, what? Why would they do this to me?
And there's 4 more Decklists full of all these cards, and here's 10 reprints.
I'm not even done writing rage posts about Teamer Energy from the Pro Tour yet, and they gotta release all this stuff on me.
That's how they do it. They just sedate you again. I really wasn't enjoying that Pro Tour. Look at all these sets. Oh my god.
Yeah, maybe that was the plan.
We figured it out. We figured out their plan. If they hear an inclination that something might not be going right, they just inundate you with all of this news. And Unstable starts next week too. Gotta get ready for that.
Unstable's next week.
Yeah, so it's just when you think you might have some scruples with Pro Tour, they just throw 3 different products at you, so you don't complain anymore. I think that was it. We should do fish mail because we have quite a bit of them.
We should.
All right.
Yeah.
So if you have questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish on Twitter with the hashtag MTGFishmail. First question, Alex Sneed. How do you decide which deck to take to a Modern Grand Prix when you have access to a lot of different options?
I think Modern's like Legacy now. I would recommend testing a bunch of different decks, finding a deck that fits your playstyle and you like, and then play it, and learn it. Because you can win with 30 plus decks in Modern if you're good at playing them. So that's my technique. Don't just grab a deck for the GP. Figure out a deck you want and plan on playing it for the next 2 years or 5 years.
Yeah, great answer. I mean, Modern has definitely become it's how you know your deck, not what deck you play.
Yeah.
All right. Next question from Kalefax. Any chance we see hybrid mana upcoming sets, and would you even want to see it? So what is hybrid mana? Is it the red green, or is it the 2/green?
The Rev.
Okay.
White/red. I personally always liked that. I know some folks didn't really get on board that train, but I always kind of liked it. I thought it would kind of spice things up a little bit, and I love Ravnica. That's kind of where they tried to do.
I really like hybrid mana, and to have a more official answer, it's a 1 on the Storm scale, which means we're almost guaranteed to see it again at some point.
All right, next question. Markness Bomb, why the lack of diversity at the Pro Tour? Do you think the pros are just mailing it in, or is Teamer Energy really that good?
Teamer Energy is that good, but I don't think they mailed it in by any stretch.
I mean, it goes back to pros. They like to play decks that are good against everything. Like, if you can play a deck that's 50% against the field and make it 55% because you're better than everyone else, that's a good way to win tournaments. So I feel like the Jund comparison's a good one. So I think that's part of the reason so many players went for it.
I think Shota called it in. He played Teamer Energy instead of some random pile of control cards. That's when you know the deck is broken. Shota gave up his control cards. Or he lost his trade binder the night before, either one. Next question. Desi no Hey, what is the single modern tier deck you despise to play against? With? What? What is the single most tier 1 modern deck you despise to play against? That's how I'll interpret this question.
It used to be Infect, but now it's not tier, so it's got to be something with Eldrazi Temple. Eldrazi Tron.
That's pretty rough, too.
Two copies of Eldrazi Temple is the most infuriating thing to me in Magic. Oh.
Yeah,
that's pretty rough.
I'm going to go with Tron. I can handle getting stormed out or ad nauseum or whatever, but when someone generates 7 mana so quickly, it just tilts me. Bodwin1. I see Vraska Relic Seeker is going up thanks to Dark Teamer. When should I sell?
Probably now.
Yeah, I'm pretty fine with taking $25 for it.
Yeah.
All right, Mean Pork. Would a color shifted, tribal shifted Silvergill Adept be too good for modern? What color / tribe would it be too good in?
Well, they kind of did that. I mean, we talked about this, Seth. Like, Branchwalker's as pretty close as you're going to get to a color-shifted Silvergill Adept. And we already saw that it was instantly slotted in as 4. Like, the whole deck changed to incorporate it.
Maybe, what tribe would be too good if it had a Silvergill Adept? Humans? Humans is already pretty good. If they also had a Silvergill Adept, that would be scary.
Basically all tribes. Slivers, humans, elves, like Elvish Visionary gets 1 more power. Like, what? So, I think Silvergill Adept is like the best card.
And they already play Elvish Visionary, and it's a 1/1, so...
Yep. Kyle Aguirre, when are you guys bringing back Goat and this or that?
We gotta do another Goat, Richard. Yeah. It's been a while.
Goat Energy, Sultai your teamer? No.
No, Goat teamer versus 4-color energy. One of us gets the 4 different black cards.
Yeah, we should do something. Chaos Engineer 1. So if Star of Extinction is in Ixalan, how do we still have dinos and rivals? Shouldn't they be extinct?
I don't think anyone's ever resolved Star of Extinction.
It just got dissolved. That's how history really played out.
Yeah,
someone just counterspelled it.
Yeah, we're good on Ixalan. That star never came down.
Oh, this is a good question. Alan PB, could Seth pronounce Budget Commander's full name?
Tomer. I know that part.
Oh my.
Abramovich? Am I close?
Can either of you say it? That can't be say his own full name. I've never seen his name before, like on someone else. So I have no idea how to pronounce his last name.
I'm sorry. That can't be right.
I don't even call him Tomer.
Abramovici? Is that right? I don't know. This doesn't. We gotta ask Tomer.
Yeah.
Next question. Regu 1U5. Does a Liliana fit for standard with plus Thoughtseize, minus Fatal Push, minus Ultimate Damnation? What? So the plus abilities are Thoughtseize, the minus is a Fatal Push, and the ultimate is Damnation.
Nah, it's not gonna never happen.
I mean, how much mana does she have to be to make that fair?
Yeah, I think like 7.
That doesn't seem that powerful.
Depends on what the minus is. I think that could. how many?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the numbers.
She dies.
I imagine 1. I imagine it's like 4 mana plus 1 Thoughtseize, -3 or something Fatal Push. I think that could work.
I think it would have to be like Ob. I think the lowest that this could be is 5.
It does seem like how Wizards was designing Planeswalkers for a while, though. Yeah. If you look at like Ob Nixilis during that era, just like staple on 3 good effects from the color and call it a day.
Well, yeah, that's why it probably should just start at 5.
All right, Canadian syntax. If I asked you when I was still Eldrazi-tron why you hate me so, Seth, how would you have reacted?
I'm confused by the question. Because of Eldrazi Temple?
Because I think Canadian syntax changed his or her Twitter handle from Eldrazi-tron to Canadian syntax.
Oh. Well, I don't hate people with the Twitter handle Eldrazi-tron, just people that play the deck.
What?
Next question, also from Canadian syntax or Eldrazi-tron. Time to settle it once for all. Cats or dogs?
Has to be dogs.
By far.
Dogs. Although Sacred Cat tried to win our hearts this weekend.
Yes.
Got sideboarded out.
I do have a soft spot for Sacred Cat. It has won me some drafts.
Have we had like a house dog in Magic? Like the 1-mana 1/1 dog that does nothing.
Just like a regular old dog.
Yeah, like,
I don't know.
like Black
There's always
Cat.
been like massive like bull mastiffs and
none of that. None of
Houndaconda
Isamaru or whatever. Like none of these things. Just like a 1/1 house dog.
Yeah, just a 1/1 golden pupper.
At Control for Days, if white has all the best answers for gods and board wipes, why don't we see more mono white? Sunmare Life gain control tokens.
Well, we saw mono white vampires. There you go.
Yeah, we saw Cast Out, Angel of Inventions.
Yeah.
But I think the other colors just give you so much more stuff, so there's no
They
reason
do.
not to play
And it's
two
so
colors.
easy. It's so easy to splash colors now. So easy.
Next question, Dr. Cadian. Seth, do you think Hidden Stockpile has a place in your modern white-black aristocrats deck?
It's probably worth trying. Yeah, I think you could build a sweet stockpile deck. The problem is it's kind of slow for modern, but if you really want to sacrifice outlet like you do in aristocrats, it's probably a fine option as like a one-of.
All right, next question, Ender Themad. Gauntlet of Goldfish. Every Mucha Brew and Budget Magic modern deck put into brackets and fight till there's one winner.
Oh,
That could be fun.
that's a huge
do you think
undertaking,
would
but
win?
that would be really fun.
Next question, Elieris. Thoughts on new dinosaur for modern in Jun Shadow Shell? Seems good since push gets shadow. Which dinosaur is this?
Oh, the 12 mana one, I think.
Oh, the... What's the set called? Rivals?
Yeah.
The green one.
I feel like it's very win more and inconsistent, but I feel like if you already have big enough Death Shadows that you're casting that for like 3 mana, you're probably winning anyway, but I don't know. Maybe it could be a one-up or something.
Next question, Huddle AW. Thoughts on Unstable having black border cards to sell packs? Foil Brainstorm with wacky art would be sweet.
Don't they have a couple?
I think the black border card, what is it, the contraption thing, is
Yeah.
going to be silver. Isn't it going to be silver bordered or no?
I'm not sure. I thought the rigger was black bordered.
Ooh. Well, maybe there will be some. I guess there
I know
will be
the
a way to
lands
sell
are, aren't
packs. The lands are no bordered, right? But
Oh,
I
right,
mean, I
no
think
bordered.
they count as black bordered.
But yeah, no border. Right. Those went on sale today, actually.
Ooh.
I think
How
Star
much are
City's
they?
been selling them. I think $249 for the island, $199 for the plains and mountain, and then $225 for the others, the forest and the swamp.
I mean, if those prices stick, that kind of guarantees you some value from your unstable packs.
Yeah, I think I'd just rather just buy the lands, but
But think of all the fun cards, Chaz. You can.
I'll
make
do it
a
like
queue.
one time. I committed myself to like one time.
Well, here's the
One
thing, it's
time.
probably not going to be released on Moto, so Seth will never play Unstable.
Oh no!
That is true. Maybe I'll do a box opening though.
All right.
Alright, next question. Jay Shrewd, what about kicking the Pro Tour off standard? It seems like non-pro tourneys have more variety and promote standard brewing better. So no more standard Pro Tours.
Well, we are taking a break, so maybe that helps the argument, but we'll see. Because the last modern Pro Tour was a disaster.
I'm very excited for
I
modern
am too.
Pro Tours, but I don't think we can get rid of standard altogether. I think normally I would love to see them keep the schedule like we have this year. 2 standard, 1 modern, and 1 team. I think that would be great going forward.
Agreed.
Next question. J Reds 17. Is it just me who's sick of approach decks? It's like a combo deck for lazy people who like a card that combos with itself.
If you don't like control, I can understand not liking it, because it is just kind of counter your stuff, eventually approach you. So if you don't like playing against Drago control, I can understand not liking approach.
Random Dark Rider, what are your favorite combos that can actually kill people? Looking for the wackiest cards and kills you've done.
What was it? The last combo I used was the Hepatra, like -1/-1 counters. It doesn't outright kill people, but you get a ton of snakes, and it's pretty fun.
I think Volcano Helion Pariah Stuffy Doll, I think, was one of my favorite ones that kills people.
Yeah, I also like the hit my creatures, kill people plan, Boros Reckoner type things. What are your favorite combos? Oh wait, just read that. D Philip 83 Chaz Unhinged came out 13 years ago. I don't know what you consider a long time if that isn't.
Yeah, I've checked that afterward because another person also said that. Wow, I did not want to be reminded of that.
Is it really 13 years ago?
That's a long time ago. Yeah, I did not think it was that long ago.
It's gonna be another 13
but,
until we see the next one.
Yeah, I don't know if that was good or bad to be reminded of it, but thank you. Yeah, I guess it was a long time ago. So whatever I said about the release, I mean, I still think the lands will. There's still going to be a lot of them, or not as many.
All right, next question. Kenna Whack-Tacky, why is Mirage Mirror not in more Legacy decks with Dark Depths?
There's just way easier ways to Dark Depths in Legacy, I think.
Yeah.
What does Mirage Mirror do?
3 mana artifact,
mana,
pay 2, copies something. Yeah.
Or you can play a Thespian stage.
Yeah, there's with lands you just dredge them in your graveyard, loam them back. Like it's clunky compared to the other options.
Connor MSP 25. My brothers and I are thinking of going to our first Grand Prix in March. Any advice for first timers?
Oh, nice. Hope you all have fun. I mean, just from a normal perspective, like just to keep yourself sane, definitely pack water and food. A lot of water, like stay hydrated, because if you're there for a while, you don't want to just resort to like chips and stuff.
All right, next question from Only Way. Did you know Irene Singer's Oracle text says that she is a vampire dwarf? How did that happen?
Things were crazy back in the old
well,
days.
No. So
cards.
the original card is Summon Legend. So if you don't know, I just looked it up. It's a 4-mana 2/2 black creature. White enchantments and green enchantments cost an additional 2. But the Oracle text has been updated to Vampire Dwarf for some reason for the type line.
Oh.
So what does this mean?
I don't know.
But the flavor text reference she is a dwarf. Because the cruel being brings shame to all her fellow dwarves and misery to all the land. So I guess the flavor text just says she's a dwarf in there. So I guess anyone can be a singer. I don't know what does singer even mean. Why are there like dwarven
It's
singers?
a bloodline, isn't it?
Yeah, but
don't you watch these vampire movies?
But why is this dwarf a singer? I don't know.
Because I don't know. Things happen.
Ken S. Baxter, demand is greater for pro play and stale decks or amateur play and new decks. What? Demand is greater for pro play and stale decks. Oh, is demand greater for pro play and stale decks or amateur play and new decks? Give us a casual tournament during the Pro Tour.
I think there's a huge demand for casual play, but I have no idea how you have a casual tournament. Like, I think that's really challenging to figure out how you would actually have a casual.
Because it's
Especially
never casual,
like during
right?
a Pro Tour.
Like, even if you make all the rules casual, when you go there, you're gonna build the best casual deck, thus making it a spiky casual deck. And
yep, it's just like Commander. It started off as, hey, we just get to play all these like crazy cards and like 8 mana stuff, and then here we are. Like there are groups that still do it, but like Richard said, you're still going to build the best bad deck.
Yeah, you basically need to reward people for not winning the actual game of Magic, but based on other criteria, like, best flavor, best synergy, or whatever. But then it's like really hard because it's kind of subjective. Next question from @Olive Saffron, whose name is Saffron Olive Garden. Do you think WotC may include black bordered reprints in Unstable to improve sales? Basically what we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
We got that same question from two people. Interesting.
Dr. Cadian, do you think a budget red-green elemental breach with dramatic entrance instead of through the breach can work?
Sort of. The haste is actually really important when it comes to getting in a hit with Liege of the Tangle, so I think it would be worse, but if you just want to play on the kitchen table, I think it can be a budget substitute.
All right. Down the final stretch, Fiddler the Drum, can you do a modern Pickles deck in video or stream?
Yes. Someday we will do that. I think the Pickles lock is really sweet, and we've never played it.
T-Laser, if WotC errataed all monocolored legendaries to have partner, which two would you want to build an EDH deck around?
Gisela and Bruna. Those are the ones that should be partners.
Brothers Yamazaki, even though they have the same name. Seems like a flavor fail that I can't make a deck with two brothers. Fazitron, do you find it ironic that Wizards only gives 5 unique 5-0 decks a day, but then the Pro Tour is extremely homogenous?
No. I don't know. Is that ironic?
I don't know. But I am still peeved at the 5-0 unique decks.
I mean, I don't want to get into it now because we'd probably go for another hour, but it is going to be challenging moving forward to really evaluate the meta without having better data. Like, it feels like we saw... Is everyone just going to go by this 43% number at the Pro Tour because we don't have other data? Is that good or bad? It's an interesting conundrum we're in now that we had this Pro Tour but don't have good Moto data.
All right, last question. Goku23, what is a good price to buy from the Vault Transform on the secondary market? What do you think its total value is worth? So we said what the total value was. What's a good price to buy in at? Is the current $60 good? Is it going to go down, up? What do you guys think?
Probably going to go down as the value of the card... Wait, obviously the value of the cards will decrease with the release, but I think you can't really go wrong with $50, $60 somewhere in there. You won't lose much even at 60.
Yeah, if you want the cards, I think 50 to 60 is fine.
It's going to depend on that checklist card for me. That's all our fish mail, so thank you everyone for sending them in.
Awesome. Yep, great fish mail. That is about going to do it, though. We are kind of over time here. Gentlemen, great cast. We will all see you next time. So this is going to be the MTG Goldfish Crew signing out. See y'all next week.